This is the Horse Radio Network. This is episode 323 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Total Saddle Fit and Uncle Jimmy's. Philip is off this week, so Reese and I take the reins, and we speak with young rider Sarah Thomas. Plus, we have Lou Denizard back with us to talk about the lessons learned at the Pan Am Games, and listener Maggie joins us to talk about girths.
This is Reese Koffler-Stanfield from Chesapeake City, Maryland today.
And this is Philip Parks. I'm calling from Canada. Actually, no, this is not. Philip is not here, and I don't do a very good Canadian accent.
No, it's terrible.
Philip's going to love when he listens to that.
Oh, my gosh. Hi, Glenn.
It's Glenn here. Hi,
How
Reese.
are you?
So good to be on the show with you this week.
I know. I'm so privileged. I can't tell you the last time you and I just did a show together.
I know. It's been a long time. We have lots to talk about today, too. But first, we're going to talk about your exciting news I just saw on Facebook.
Yes.
Tell us.
I am here in Chesapeake City, Maryland at Hassler Dressage, Elin Court, and we also call Hello. And I qualified for the 6-year-old national finals. And I'm here this week for camp. I'm calling it adult camp. It's great. My mom.
Hello, that big horse I met in Florida. Did I meet?
Yes,
Yeah.
You met him in Florida. Yeah, he's even bigger, Glenn.
He's huge. I mean, this is a huge
huge.
horse.
Reese,
You're tall. This horse makes you look short.
He does. Actually, he's a perfect size for me, and I just think he's perfect. And so it's really fun. I actually just have one horse here with me, and my mom came with me. It's quite a drive. It's a 12-hour drive from Kentucky here, and we're here for the week, and it's just been so much fun. I've been able to just spend time with Hello, and my mom and I have gone on some excursions, and
Isn't it weird? We've talked to how many professional riders have we talked to that make a team and then go to training with one horse after riding 10 every day, and they get there and they go, I'm done riding today, and now what do I do?
Yes, it's weird. Well, I brought some books, and I've done yoga. I mean, it's just been awesome.
Shopping. I'm sure if your mom's there's been some shopping.
There's shopping. Yeah. Oh, yes, of course. Yes, we went to the beautiful town of Chesapeake City. It's very close, and it's right on the Chesapeake Bay. And this evening, I think we're going to go on a little drive and do some exploring. So, yeah, it's really fun just to focus on one horse. And like I said, I think he's tired of us. He's like, okay, just let me have a nap. We're like, we're going to walk him now, and we're going to do this. So, but it's just a privilege to be here and really get ready and really get very technical into the test. So that's what we're doing.
Well, good luck on that. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
I know
we're
this
going
was
home
one of your goals. So.
This was a big goal for us. My whole team, Town and Country Farm, and Philip was there and helped us buy this horse. And this has been a goal for the last year, is to get to this final. So really looking forward to it. And we're here a week, and we actually head home for a week. You're going to meet Sarah Thomas here in a few minutes. She is also a rider here at Hassler that's training for the U25 division, under 25 Grand Prix. And so it's been fun to be with people who are also preparing for a championship. So lots of good stuff. And we go home for a week, and then the next week after we'll head to Chicago. So that's our plan this month.
Very good. Well, I want to talk a little shop with you here if we can before we get to our first guest. And I want to thank the listeners of the Dressage Radio Show, too, kind of doing this in all the shows this week. I just spent the weekend in Texas at Fort Worth, and we were at the what's called Podcast Movement 2015, which is the largest podcasters convention in the world. We had 1,200 podcasters there, and, we started podcasting, you and I and all my other hosts, long before podcasting was a thing.
Right.
When we didn't even know what the heck we were doing. And now it really, thanks to NPR and a couple of celebrities that have started podcasting, it really has become kind of mainstream. People are learning about it, and they're finally catching up to us, basically.
I know. It's great, Glenn. Congratulations.
Well, and you'd be so proud, because really the horse I didn't speak at all. I went Thursday. They needed to kill 20 minutes in the one session. There were only about 60 people in that session. And they said, Glenn, can you get up and do some questions and answers? Because you've been doing it longer than most anybody here. So I did. And apparently it went very well because those 60 people told almost everybody in the convention. And by the end, everybody knew about the Horse Radio Network.
Yay!
And
awesome.
There were some of the top podcasters in the world there that are getting millions of downloads, in the tech world and celebrity world. Aisha Taylor did a keynote speech. She's the one that is a comedian and also the host of Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yes.
And she was there, and that was very funny. She did a great job with it. And there's some guys there, that are very popular, yet 10 times I heard in different breakout sessions throughout the thing, I would get texts from all my fellow podcasters in Florida. We're all a big, tight group. They would text and say, they just mentioned the Horse Radio Network again on stage. And that must have happened 10 times throughout the whole thing because we've kind of figured out with a couple of the other veterans there that at 4,200 episodes and over 6,000 guests that we've interviewed, we're probably in the top 5 of all podcast networks in the world.
That's crazy.
And that's in the little horse niche. When you talk tech, you're talking millions of people, right?
Right.
We're in the horse world. So they were really using the Horse Radio Network as an example of what can happen in a small niche market. And we have 8 shows, and we'll have 12, by the way, by the end of the year, in this small niche world of the horses, right? So I got known as the horse guy all weekend, and
fine. That's how you're known, anyways.
Yeah. Every time somebody'd see me, they'd go, "Oh, there's the horse guy," and they'd come up and talk. And I was thrilled to be able to help so many, probably about 150 podcasters, just talking to them about getting started and getting going, and actually making it work. We're not making a lot of money doing this yet. But I think that we will eventually. And, it's thanks to our sponsors that allow us to do it full time.
Absolutely.
And our listeners, you guys should be very proud. We're in the horse world, for God's sake. We can barely figure out how to use our phones, and we are leading most of the technology podcasts in the world.
Yay!
The Dressage Radio Show is in the... Some statistics came out over the weekend. The Dressage Radio Show is about 18,000 listeners, right, each week?
That's right.
And that puts us in the top 0.5% of all podcasts in the world. Just the Dressage Radio Show. The most boring sport in the world. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Okay, there's parts. Everybody, we have to admit, there are parts that are kind of boring. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's arguing with me, really. So yeah, it is. It was very flattering over the weekend, and I'm just so proud of you, of Philip, of all of the hosts, and really all of the listeners and the sponsors that we've had that are such big supporters. They were sponsoring us when we didn't have any listeners. So, now that we've grown and we've grown this big, they're along for the ride, and I really appreciate that. One thing that I've gotten the question on by many people and some of your listeners is, how did this all start with you and Philip? And we told this story before, but we have new listeners all the time, so we're telling the origin stories on all the shows. I talked about how the Horse Radio Network started on Horses in the Morning on Monday. You can go back and listen to that. But as far as Reese is concerned, Chris Stafford hosted the show for a lot of years. And then I needed a new host when Chris left. And I knew you. Jennifer saw you doing a seminar in Lexington one day. Downtown. I don't know what it was for.
I think it was for Alltech. Was it for Alltech, maybe?
It might have been. It was in the lead up of the World
Cruise and
Equestrian
News.
Games.
Yeah, we did a lot of blitzing right before for all of us. We did a lot of speaking before the World
and she
Games.
saw you, and she was so impressed. She was so impressed. She said, "You got to meet this Reese girl." And then what happened is we saw you and your mom at Ohio at the Equine Affair.
Yes, that's right.
And we weren't planning to. You were just there. We were there. And,
right. And I was speaking.
Yeah, I was very impressed. And then I met your mom somehow there.
Yeah.
And she was plugging you. And then we had you on as a guest, right?
That's right. I think that's right. Or we met somewhere.
Well, I never hire a host unless I have him on as a guest first. So we must have had you on a guest, probably at Stable Scoop with Helena and I. And then
Probably.
and then I talked to you about hosting the dressage. We became friends long before I asked you to do this.
We became friends,
Yeah.
and then I did a lot for the morning show. I did Cooking with Reese, and I don't remember how that came up.
I don't remember
but I did it. And I need to go back on.
What a bizarre thing to come up of her dressage rider, right?
It's totally random. And I really like to cook. So you had asked me, I think I said that on one of my segments, and you said, "Oh, would you come on and do a recipe?" And I said, "Sure, I'll come on and do a recipe. That's no problem." So I came on and did a recipe for a while, almost a year, maybe 6 months, something like that. So you asked me to pick up the dressage show. And I said,
3 months.
3 months. 3 months. And you said, okay, that's fine.
But see, everybody, I knew what short a memory Reese had. So I knew that 2 months in, she'd forget she ever said that.
No, I never forgot. I still look at that. 3 years later, I'm like, I said I would do this for 3 months, but no. And actually, so then the search was on for a co-host, and it's actually not as easy as it sounds to find someone. And I did not know this going in at all. I just was asking friends who I thought would be fun to work with. And we tested a few people, and they did a good job, but it was pretty clear that we needed a male voice.
Yeah, I agree. I'm all for, by the way, I was asked that a lot over the weekend, and I'm a firm believer, and you notice almost all of our shows have male-female.
Yeah. And yeah, you said we need to find a male voice. And actually, funny enough, I knew Philip from the Young Dressage Horse Trainers Conference that we come actually here at Hassler Dressage. They host that conference every November. And Philip and I had been friends, and we definitely always got along really well. And we have a nice little tight knit group of people who actually, a lot of them come on the show quite often. Especially if we need a guest, they're sort of our somebody cancels or something, they'll come on and they're great. Katie Pogue, Megan McIsaac, a lot of those girls will come on and help us. So Philip and I were friends through that, and I called him up, and same thing. I said, "Hey, I've been asked to do this radio show. Would you come on and do it with us?" And he said, "Yeah, no, I'd be happy to. We'll give it a try." And we were horrible. Oh my God, we were
actually. This is not something we're speaking out of school. We've talked about it before.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, because it was a couple of weeks in, and it just wasn't flowing like I had hoped. And I finally sat you both down and said, "Would you just be yourselves? Just stop trying to be radio hosts and just be yourselves and talk and, share your knowledge. You guys know so much. And especially Philip, you were a little more at ease than he was.
Yeah.
And when he finally relaxed, and then for some reason, like the fourth weekend, the light bulb just went on. You guys, I don't know if you'd been drinking that episode or what.
We probably were. I used to drink heavily. I don't have to drink anymore, but it was heavily.
You both had the right amount of alcohol, and it just clicked. And then from then on, you guys have doubled the numbers of the show every week, and people love you. I can't tell you how many people mention you all the time. And even at the meetup the other night we did in Texas, we had a listener meetup when I was there, organized by a listener. And people listened to your show. There was a lady there from London who was at our listener meetup in Fort Worth, Texas, who had come in to see her family, and it just happened to be they were in Fort Worth, and she was there that night, so she came over. And
cool.
She's a dressage rider, and she loves you guys. She said she learned so much from you guys. It's like having a free lesson every week.
Well, that's what we hope. I mean, Philip and I are not at all trained radio hosts. I think we are getting better. Every show we learn something, but that was the point, was to bring two trainers on. We do this professionally every day, all day long. And
you were afraid to talk about it at the beginning.
Yeah. I think we were. But I think that we've learned over time, and I think you continually learn that. Every professional rider, we all try to really do our best for the horses. Mostly, we try, and you have to learn that it's a learning curve and a learning process, and you have to keep learning. And so we're lucky that we get to share our knowledge, but we also, get back so much from this radio show as well. And the people we interview, we talked to Laura Graves last week, and she's great and become a friend. And Lou Denizard, who's on the show today, it's been great because we know a lot of people, and everyone's sort of catching on, and they're like, "Oh, that's really fun. I'll do that anytime you need." So it's been a really cool thing.
That's when I was asked actually by a lot of people what because at 8 years doing this, our anniversary is Saturday, will be our 8th year. we are veterans in the podcasting world. It only started 10 years ago, right?
Wow. Yeah.
When nobody could figure out how to even listen to the show, we couldn't figure out how to do it. So we were very early on, and they asked me what was been the highlight for me, and the highlight for me has been making so many friends. We have, you guys, all the hosts, all of our guests, and then our sponsors. I probably interviewed 4,000 people in that 8 years. Wow. Who else gets to talk to 4,000 of the most engaging, top-level people in their industry?
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of weeks ago, we had the owners of American Pharoah on.
That's so cool.
I mean, we don't get to, who else gets to do that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and then you become friends with them. And, and that has been the coolest part. We all don't make much money doing this, but our experiences that we have had. Jamie, host of the morning show, just got done being invited out because of the radio show for 2 weeks training Mustangs with Monty Roberts.
So cool.
At the farm. And then riding her horse with Monty on a trail ride every night for 2 weeks.
So cool.
Who gets to do that, right?
Yeah, it's very true. And we've had great sponsors, and a lot of them have continued to sponsor both Philip and I, and so thankful for that. And it's true. We get to, if we have a question even about our own horses, we get to find the answer out and get to talk online. And we have, like you said, Philip and Meredith, his wife, and Travis, my husband, and I, we've all become really good friends off the show. And we went to Las Vegas together, and then we went to the Pan Am Games. So we all really we went to their wedding. So it's just been a really fun, and Glenn and Jennifer, we meet up with them whenever we can. And so it's been a lot of fun to do it. And that's why we're still here, huh, Glenn?
That's why we're still here
doing this.
And the other people that have met each other is our listeners. A lot of them have met through the shows, and that's really cool. That's when you really have done something in building a community, and that's what new media is all about, right? I mean, it's all about building community. So, Thank you to all of our listeners.
Yes, thank you all. Thanks to our
sponsors. We truly appreciate you, and congratulations to our listeners for making the Horse Radio Network one of the top networks in the world. And finally, horses get some love.
Horses, we get some love. Love it. Congratulations to you and Jennifer too, Glenn. You guys put so much work into this. We are only here for an hour or two every week, but you guys, for every show, it takes. Well, it depends on the night, on how bad Philip and I are, how much editing you have to do.
I can tell you this: there are a lot of shocked people when we put out 15 to 20 episodes a week, and there were a lot of shocked people who are putting out one episode a week in podcasting, and they ask how many in our team, and I tell them it's Jennifer and I, and we do everything, and they're just want to fall over. So
it's an unbelievable amount of work you guys put into it. So thank you as well.
Well, why don't you introduce our first guest? Are we going to start with Sarah?
We can start with Sarah. She's adorable. I've met her here while I'm training at Hassler Dressage. Her name is Sarah Thomas, and she's got a great story. She's under 25, and you're going to hear, she drives from DC all the way here to Hassler Dressage, 2 hours every day to train, and is in college and working in the fashion industry. So I hope you enjoy her story. She's really cool also in person. Well, this evening, I am so excited to have my new friend, Sarah Thomas, on. We are both here at Hassler Dressage training for the national finals. She qualified in the U25 division. And Glenn, I think this is my first in-person interview.
Really? Wow,
yes,
we need to get you out more, Reese.
I know, I need to be out more. Well, Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, you are just a great sport. You just got off your horse. I got off my horse. We're all sweaty. But this is perfect. So, Sarah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I grew up in London, England. I moved there when I was 6. I was originally born in Texas, and then started riding in the parks in London as a little hobby. And then it kind of just grew and grew and grew from there. And then I started training with Anna Ross Davies, who's an international Grand Prix rider in England. And then it just kind of went from there. And then I now go to Georgetown University and live in DC, and came to the Hasslers when I wanted to move my horse over to the States. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. So what are you studying at Georgetown?
Political economy and history.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah.
So how far is it from Hassler to school?
It's a 2-hour drive each way, so that's really, really
In
tough.
DC traffic, that must be fun.
Yeah, I mean,
Downtown.
I luckily I'm usually up at 5 and coming. I usually leave my house at 5:30 to avoid early morning traffic, and try and get my riding done before classes. But it can be really tough balancing like school life, education, and then riding and everything. It can be tough. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's incredibly difficult. It's hard when you
Yes.
live in the same town, but
Yeah.
the traffic, from here to DC,
Yeah.
which we found out on the way up in Baltimore.
It is
Oh my gosh.
awful.
Yeah, it's not easy traffic.
No.
So, wow, that's so cool. So, what are you up here qualifying this summer for?
This summer, I'm doing the U25 Brentina Cup. So I just got my horse recently, so it's brand new to both of us. So it's very, very exciting. And then hopefully we'll move on to the big Grand Prix next year.
Great.
Possibly.
So, just for everybody, the U25 is also called the Brentina Cup, and it is part of the National Dressage Finals that are happening. Part of the National Finals are happening in Chicago in 3 weeks. So Sarah will be done before she has to go back to school.
Yes.
So that's what she's working on to qualify for. Well,
Yes.
she's qualified for it.
I have qualified. We just finished qualification a couple weeks ago. We just got confirmation. You had to be top 12 in the country with your average score over 3 shows. So we were able to do that, and now we're headed to Chicago in 2 weeks.
Perfect. So for Brentina Cup, is there a low average you have to be above?
You have to be above a 62% average, and you also have to complete an Intermediate 2 test. That's part of the qualification.
Got it. And so the top 12 riders that are 21 to 25, or is it 18 to 25?
I'm not 100%. I'm pretty sure you can be 18 and still do it, but it's under 25, definitely.
Awesome. So tell us about your horse.
My horse is named Argo Conti Time. I bought him in April. He's a 13-year-old Oldenburg Gelding by Argentinus and Continue. He was the reserve for the Pan Am Games for Canada for the small tour, and he had just done his first Grand Prix before I bought him, and then we kind of went into boot camp, and we're both very, very new to the Grand Prix, but a lot of potential, hopefully. So, but he's great. He's got the best temperament, super cute. He looks like a pony. But...
He is super cute. I just gave him carrots and sugar. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, he's the best. So he comes into work every day, super happy and ready to give it his all. So we love him.
That's great. So
Yeah.
what are your strengths and weaknesses in the test?
In the test, our changes are probably our highlight, if we can get them. I go through phases where I can have my one-time changes, and then they just go away for some reason. They disappear.
That happens. That can happen.
It's a mental game with me. And then our Piaffe is a highlight, our extensions, and then probably the weakest point for us right now is our passage, because he's so new to all the movements. But he definitely has the potential to have a great passage. We're just really trying to work on it. And then our pirouettes, when we get them, they're great. But then if we don't have them, we really struggle. So, but we've got some definitely like good highlights and then some weaknesses, but we've had different mistakes in every test we've done, which is really interesting and exciting. And we always have something to work on, which is great.
I think with the Grand Prix, you'll do that for the next
Oh my gosh,
20 times.
forever.
You have to do the Grand Prix a lot to get it right. Yeah, for sure. That's great.
Yeah.
So now what's your plan for, we have 2.5 weeks till Chicago?
Yeah, we leave 2 weeks from this Sunday.
Got it. So
Yeah.
what is sort of your lead up? What are you doing for the next 2 weeks?
For the next 2 weeks, well, this week we've got some pretty intense training. I ride with Scott Hassler pretty much every day. We're doing a combination of riding the movements from the test, a lot of groundwork with the Piaffe Passage, a lot of body work to get my horse feeling really, really great. And then he's also got some massages pretty much every week. We have our people come in and work on him, and then he'll have a look at from the vet this weekend just to make sure everything's going great. And then next week he might have a little bit of some time off just to give him a little rest, and then building up towards the next weekend right before we leave. So, yeah.
That's great. Yeah, no, I like that. And that's pretty typical for a high performance horse. You'll have the vet look at them about, well, I start once a week before a big championship, about a month out. Just kind of keep an eye on things and making sure we're doing what we're doing. And it's typical for these guys that, Argo's doing the Grand Prix. So he has a lot of work it's a lot of work for him. So anything we can do to sort of help him, I think is a really good idea.
Yeah, he's getting iced every day. He gets his massages. He had acupuncture last week. So everything we can do to help them, we try and do.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
So now for the summer, are you also in school or did you take school off this summer?
I have school off this summer. I'm coming into my senior year, but I'm actually working. I'm interested in fashion. So I'm working retail in DC just to get some experience under my belt. So that on top of pretty much full-time training has been a little tough to balance, but I'm so used to it. I've balanced like very intense school with top training for my entire life. So I'm working about 4 days a week. But the Hasslers have been great. I stay at their house like 3 times a week just to make the drive easier and help with early morning lessons and things. So I'm really close with the Hassler family. So that helps definitely.
Well, you don't have to worry about the hassle of boyfriends. You don't have time for one.
I know. I actually do have a boyfriend, but
You're training him well.
He likes his alone time apparently because
he's actually in LA all summer. Perfect. So he's like doing his thing. I got my thing. It's perfect. We FaceTime and then that's it. We're good.
I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Let's face it, Glenn, we can't have any prima donna horsey or boyfriends around.
That's right.
Too much.
That's right.
Yeah, can't handle that.
They make you lose focus. Yeah.
Exactly. It's pretty focused around here. Where Sarah, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks.
She's great. She came right on we're in the conference room here at Hassler, which is absolutely gorgeous. And it's a really fun place to train. And everyone's really, really, it's just a great positive environment. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
We'll stay in touch and stay friends in Chicago.
Definitely.
Bye, Sarah.
Bye. Thank you.
Hello, folks. Uncle Jimmy here, and welcome to the world of Uncle Jimmy brand products, where funny names mean serious products. Featuring Uncle Jimmy Squeezy Buns, the squeezably soft hand treat that your horse will love. The award-winning Uncle Jimmy's Hangin' Balls. Uncle Jimmy's Sugar-Free Ball. The incredible Licky Thing, also in sugar-free. The amazing Uncle Jimmy's Pecker Wrecker, and the Big Licky. The infamous Uncle Jimmy Hangin' Ball was first designed by me for my own horses to help reduce the bad habits which come from stall boredom. It now can be found around the world. This nutritious, flavored, filled boredom buster will help keep your horses occupied and happy around the clock. Properly hung, it will last for weeks, provided you don't let your horse pin it, and Uncle Jimmy knows who you are. The ball comes in 4 flavors: apple, carrot, peppermint, molasses, and now sugar-free. Once again, welcome to the world of Uncle Jimmy's brand products, where funny names mean serious products, and satisfaction is 100% guaranteed.
Well, Reese, we've been talking about the shoulder relief girth from Total Saddle Fit for a long time. And it's been you and I doing the talking, and Philip, and just all of us, right? And now we had a meetup. I told you about it earlier in the show in Texas with some listeners and some of the hosts from the Horse Radio Network when I was there over the weekend. And I met this young girl who actually uses the girth not for dressage, but for something else. And her name is Maggie. Hi, Maggie.
Hello. I use that girth for trail riding mostly.
But you compete too, right? You compete
Yes, I compete. Yeah. Trail riding, competitive trail riding mostly is what I do. And so I always had a really hard time keeping my horses from getting girth galls because they're big round horses and their girth rub them really bad. And we found this girth and we went ahead and was like, well, let's try it. It doesn't hurt. And I have absolutely loved it for the ride. And it's such a nice girth, nice leather, and it stood up really nice for the miles that I've done.
And you guys do a lot of miles, too.
Yeah, we're doing some fast, hard work, too. And it has done wonders for my little Arab that I've been using. His girth gets up in his elbow really bad, and it has helped him so much.
What kind of saddle do you ride in?
I ride in a specialized saddle, a little endurance specialized saddle. I have a really old one, not one of the new fancy ones. But
sometimes the oldies are better. I'm telling you.
Yes,
the oldies are better. They're broken in.
yeah, this is a great saddle. It's had like 5 different owners, and most of them are still doing nature today. They're just like, oh, I need a different saddle, and it's like, oh, well, I'll have it. You know, it's just one of those things. It's like the the sisterhood of the traveling pants. It's the traveling saddle.
I love it. That's so cute. Well, and Maggie, I've also had really good luck with a total saddle fit shoulder relief girth on my mare Jamaica, and we call her Meepy, and she's older and also a little bit on the rotund side. She was retired, and I put her back to work this summer, and I asked Justin, I said, how will the girth work on kind of a plumper individual? And we were having also the same issue with girth galls, and it's been fantastic. She has not gotten a girth gall or anything. So I have also had great luck with a little more rotund in the belly region.
Yeah, I also use it on my other little mare who is definitely very rotund, and she has a lot of excess skin in her elbows, so it just kind of gets caught up in there, and it has been great on her too. You know, once again, rotund. And so, yeah, it's been a lifesaver, because that's one of the things that I've always had problems with my mare and this new gelding. I've always had trouble with girth galls, because they get up too far in their elbows, or they just rub wrong, and I've always had problems with that, and that's a bunch of points that I get taken off. And when I found this girth, I have, it minimized it, if not completely gone, on my girth galls.
You know what I've determined? Your horses all need a diet. It's what I've determined.
Oh, Glenn, you be nice. You be nice to those easy keepers,
Hey, I got a pony that's so fat too. And you know what? We have the same problem with our saddles for the harness, for the driving. He gets the rub marks just like you guys are getting. And unfortunately, Total Saddle Fit doesn't do a girth yet for driving. Maybe someday.
I think he's been asked to do it.
Yes, I know he has been asked before to do it. But thank you so much, Maggie, for letting us know.
Maggie.
Absolutely, yeah.
We
I'm
appreciate
glad
it.
that, share, because like I said, it's changed my feeding.
And let's give a plug for your mom. Her mom, Alice, does a show with us once a month on the Horses in the Morning show, does a show for the North American Trail Ride Conference. And we do a trail riding show once a month on Horses in the Morning, so you can find her mom over there. Thanks, Maggie.
Thank you.
Take
Bye.
care.
Well, that was super exciting and fun to hear Maggie chat about the girth. As everybody knows, we are seriously fans of this girth. Rode in it today. So thanks to Maggie for talking to us about the Total Saddle Fit Shoulder Relief Girth. And now, back by popular demand, Lou Denizard, he rides for Puerto Rico. Lou came on and did a trainer tip for us this winter, and he was so good. We asked him to come back and talk about his experience at the Pan Am Games representing Puerto Rico, and I hope you enjoy. Well, we are so excited tonight to have Luis Denizard. He rides for Puerto Rico on the line. He just got back from a fantastic experience and event at the Pan American Games. Lou, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again.
We are so happy to have you back. You did such a great job. If anybody wants a great half-halt tip, Lou did a trainer tip for us sometime this winter when we were in Florida, and it's a great tip. So we were excited to have you back on the show.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Well, Lou, let's get started. Tell us about your experience at the Pan Am Games.
Oh, it was a fantastic experience. There was 43 competitors in total, and I was one of them. So it was great to be there with the other athletes, all the other teams. There were quite a few teams. I think there were like 9 teams in total. And then there was probably about 6 individuals representing their countries. And again, I was one of those. So it was a lot of fun intermingling with everybody, talking to them, and getting to know them.
Tell us about what was your preparation for coming up to Canada. Did you get any shows in sort of, in May or June, or how were you preparing your horse?
In reality, with Royal Affair, because the goal was to move up to Grand Prix as soon as the Pan Ams were done, I actually showed a couple of national shows at the Grand Prix level, and did that up until June. Did my last show in June, and then spent the rest of the month kind of preparing myself to ride the Smalls Tour again, but didn't feel that I needed any more shows leading into that. So I kind of arrived he arrived on the 6th, I arrived on the 5th of July, and the competition started with the jog on the 10th.
Fantastic. So tell us about your horse, Royal Affair.
He is a 13-year-old Hanoverian who is quite the character, can be quite stoic at times, and other times can be quite spooky and a handful.
And how long have you had this horse?
About 2.5 years now.
And was your goal ultimately the Pan Am Games or just Pan Am Games and then onto Rio?
I would love to go on to Rio, so I kind of look at it in stages. And as you know, it's an Olympic cycle, so there's usually the Central American Games, which were last year that he went to, and then this year is the Pan Ams, and next year is the Olympics. So, we'll try our darndest to get into the Olympic Games. There's only one slot available. So I don't know if that will happen for us. And if we miss that, then we will plan for the World Equestrian Games 2 years from now. So
Luke, explain really quickly, because actually I don't know the answer either. How do you qualify from the Olympics from this point?
For me in particular, there is one slot given to what is considered South America, and Puerto Rico with Olympic autonomy from the United States is part of that South American region, which is region E. And from there, what basically happens is you have to compete in as many CDIs at the Grand Prix level that you can. And the higher you place, the more points you earn towards the world rankings. The highest ranked rider from region E in the world will get the next slot to go to the Olympics.
That's super competitive, isn't it?
It's really hard.
It is. I think
there's a lot of countries.
Right now,
there's a lot of countries. And as we saw the
Pan Am Games, quite a few countries.
Yeah, quite a few. Good riders. It's going to be competitive. It's going to be one of those things that's down to the wire.
Absolutely,
I'm sure.
Absolutely.
So, did you end up going to the opening ceremonies? And what's different about because it's not just a regular horse show. It's part of the bigger Pan American experience. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I sure can. I didn't end up going to the opening ceremonies because they were shuttling us from where they kept the athletes hotel that was near the venue in Caledon, Canada. They were shuttling us at 1 p.m. to go and stand and wait in line until we marched into the stadium, probably close to like 7:00 at night.
Oh, that's a long wait.
And then you have to march in, and then you sit and you watch the whole show. And then I think the first bus arrived back from the opening ceremonies at 1:30 in the morning. So although I showed at 3:30 in the afternoon, I really thought, I'm here for a purpose, and that purpose is to compete and be in good mind. So I think I better just stay back and watch it on TV, which is what I did.
It was a school night.
Exactly.
No partying for the dressage riders who go first, right?
Yeah, that is correct.
That's, and that's, what happens as an athlete. And, I have to rein some of my kiddos in when we're competing. And I think some of my other ladies, just to say, hey, come on, what are we here to the horse show? What are we for? What are our goals? And certainly when you're at a games situation, it's a long time and that's really out of your routine. And I think sometimes that's part of the experience is sort of making the call to stay home and go to sleep early and be prepared. So that's, Absolutely. I understand. So kind of walk us through.
That was my call to stay home. And beyond that, the idea of the games and how to compete, it was an interesting process going into Canada because it was really going to be about Canada and the United States competing for the Olympic team spot. So kind of going into it, we all knew as nations going in that we had to vie for positions outside of that little competition within the competition. And so I set myself particular goals that would make me proud and happy that I achieved. And one of them was I ended up 16th at both the last 2 Pan Am Games that I competed at. And that did not get me into the freestyle. 15 went in. So I was able to go into the freestyle. And in the end, I think I ranked 11th out of 43.
That's fantastic. That's really fantastic, Lou. Congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you. Very proud and very proud of my horse and his owner and everything. It was a fantastic experience.
So, Lou, can you walk us through sort of each of the tests? Can you start with the Prix St. George? How did you like your test and how did it feel?
With my trainer's advice, his advice is always, when you're doing a series of tests like that involve you kind of building towards the judge's impression, he always says, ride the first test clean and maybe a little bit conservative so that they can at least put you in the right spot. If you go for it too much and you take too much risk, you'll get penalized for that. So I took the Prix St. George. I wrote a clean test. I wrote it what was slightly conservative and let the judges kind of put whatever they were going to do with that score, and was pretty pleased. I think that was a 69%. Then that led me into the I-1, and the I-1 I thought, okay, well, a little more risk. Got to put a little more pizzazz into this, see if they're willing to let that go. Well, it just so happened I didn't have to put too much pizzazz in. There was so much activity in the I-1 from the crowd that was around that he got a little more excited. So my job was just to guide that energy and see where that fell. And that was extremely well received by the judges to a 70%. And then the I-1 freestyle was my first time riding to new music. It was brand new music for me, same choreography, but different music. And he has a history of not being 100% with me in the freestyles because he's a little noise sensitive to the music, to whatever, many things. So I just said, okay, well, don't let that get to you and don't let it distract you from your choreography and knowing that you can catch up to your music and do what you have to do. So I felt that I was very well prepared for that, and I thought the music was a huge hit. So I was pleased.
Very good. I watched it and I enjoyed it very much. It was, your horse has a little bit of that spark that just makes you sit up in your seat a little bit, and it was very enjoyable.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Lou, how was this games different from the Pan Am Games that you've competed in previously that you mentioned? How overall, how did Canada do?
I have to say that the venue, the biggest difference is the level of competition is getting a little more intense in the sense of people are riding cleaner tests and are presenting a much more elegant picture from Pan Am game to Pan Am game. And when I say that, the U.S. and the Canadians have always been very good powerhouses in the sport. So it's not a question of they're getting better. It's the other nations that are catching up. And that's fun. That's fun to watch, and it's fun to be part of. But Rio was a bit large stadium, very much like Canada, but not much attendance. I mean, you could count maybe 30 people in a humongous stadium watching us ride. So that was a little disappointing for all three phases. Guadalajara, Mexico was a much more quaint, smaller venue with it was quite full. But it was quite full because it was a smaller venue. So that was enjoyable. And then Canada just had the largest stadium with the most people in it, especially for the I-1 and the I-1 freestyle. So that was a lot of fun to hear that crowd really cheer for you and get behind you.
Oh, for sure. No, it was a great venue, and it was really fun to come even as a spectator and enjoy and see all the athletes and the joy that everyone was having. So kind of tell us now, how do you wrap up the games with Royal Fair? What are you doing now? And what I know Rio's the goal, but how do you sort of now progress to that goal?
Well, he came home and I thought he deserved a vacation. So he's still on vacation this week. We'll pick him up and gradually get him back into work starting next week. And then we try not to look back at the small tour work anymore and just progress towards doing the Grand Prix work and making sure that comes easy to him. So that by this winter, when the winter season starts here in Florida, which is usually towards the end of December, we're hopefully hitting every CDI Grand Prix that's available to us.
Well, fantastic. Well, I can't wait to cheer you on. You guys are one of my favorite teams, and I look forward to seeing you all next winter. And we'd love to keep in touch with you on your road to Rio.
Absolutely. We'd love to tell you how it's going.
Fantastic. So, Lou, tell our listeners how they can find you online.
I have a website. It's www.delantedressage.com. And they, if they're in Palm City, Florida, they're welcome to come visit the farm anytime they're in the area.
Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. We really appreciate it. Philip should be back next week, right?
Yeah, he's back. He actually everybody I'm sure he won't mind. He's moving this week. So he was trying to get his internet up and it was just getting to be a little too complicated on trying to figure it out. And I'm here in Maryland and so Glenn and I just did the show, but Philip's well. He will be all set up and we'll ask him about his new house next week, but he will be back next week. No worries. You can find our show notes and links to today's guests on our website, dressageradio.com. Like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com and my email is Reese at Horse Radio Network. I'd like to thank all our sponsors for this week's episode. And don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com. Everybody, keep your heels down and your shoulders back, and we will talk to you next week.